sharing knowledge about cybersecurity, project management, and artificial intelligence between nations. I'm Lisa Aligas, and you're watching Newsmakers. In this edition, we talk with faculty from the Czech Republic visiting Missouri Southern State University. Our first guests are Dr. Vladimir Sobolasov, a computer science researcher specializing in computer networks, virtualization, and cloud computer with the University of Hradec Králové, and Dr. Teresa Oshinaskova, I probably butchered that name, an assistant professor at the university and executive secretary of basic and applied research. Welcome to Joplin, to MSSU, and to Newsmakers. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
I'd like to begin with hearing about your individual specialties, teaching at the University of Hradec Králové. So, Vladimir, you specialize in cybersecurity. What are some of the courses you teach?
I teach computer networks, also the cybersecurity, because recently we've got a new study program, information and network security, which is focused on cybersecurity, and it is really topical thing. So there are a lot of threats which are being in the world, so we have to somehow handle these threats and secure not only the companies, also the public institution and so on. So we have a lot of students willing to join this program, so this is what I do.
Awesome. Well, Teresa, you have experience in international activities. What does that entail, and tell us about the classes you teach?
Actually, back home, I teach currently more in English than in Czech, which is, I think I'm maybe the only teacher at our university doing it like this. I enjoy working with the international students because we have quite a lot of them coming from, all around the world, which is a very big opportunity, as well as like a very nice experience with them to share the knowledge from all around the world, and also to discuss like various cultural differences, and also like all the viewpoints and perceptions of our country, as well as of the marketing, advertising, and sales, how they perceive it, how they do it in their countries, which is a very big pleasure for me in that regard.
You mentioned project management is something you work on.
Yes, exactly, because I'm like, let's say, the project manager or the coordinator of quite a lot of projects at our faculty, either like the regional funded ones or even like the international funded ones, where we coordinate and lead the project where there are 7 institutions from more European Union countries, and it should have the impact, to the whole European Union ideally, and maybe also like worldwide if possible, and if we reach that out.
That's great. Well, Vladimir, you'll be here talking about analytics with our computer information systems and math students. So tell me a little bit about the focus of that discussion on analytics.
I will be focused mainly on analytics in the area of cybersecurity. What does it mean? What you have to do to analyze the threat? We teach, this is usually very famous, and students like the threat hunting. To monitor where the breach was, how the attacker got to the systems, and you are trying to reconstruct this event, how it happened, and just take some countermeasures to secure the system. Yeah. So this is what I'll be talking, probably about the network design and network security. We are discussing it right now, depending on the students and the level of advance.
And you've done some research in this area?
Yes, of course. We've got several projects, which is also Teresa leading with us. And in the area of cybersecurity is quite wide, so there are different fields. So we have the project focused on smart cities and securing the infrastructure there, which is composed from IT and OT technologies. Also, there are other actors like people and the processes, because cybersecurity is mainly is not only, better to say, not only technical, but it's also, there are important things like people, processes, how these things work together.
Definitely a human component when it comes to not opening that phishing scam email. There's a lot to it.
Yes.
We make the human error.
Also, education is really important. So we have some projects. We are preparing some scenarios in Cyber Range, which are cybernetic polygons for training the people. So we are these maybe the basic scenarios for example, old people.
Big targets, often targeted. Yeah.
And also for more focus on technical stuff, integrating the real devices. So this is what we are working on.
Excellent. So Teresa, you'll be presenting on corporate social responsibility. What areas do you think need improvement by our corporations out there?
Actually, what I was emphasizing today already in the first class is the fact that also like the public institutions and also the universities should behave responsibly. So usually CSR is focused on the small and medium enterprises and big companies, but it's also like the public sector which should be behaving responsibly and considering us as citizens, as customers, you know, and trying to make all these stakeholders happy. So I think that it's definitely the communication of the activities which is done, and also like addressing maybe the carbon footprint, not only, you know, to recycle, which is of course the basic thing, you know, but try to behave responsibly also like in the digital way, you know, to consider the footprint which we are, let's say, letting sort of everywhere in any activity of the daily life.
Yeah, I mean, quite often you find out your personal information has been sold, you know, and then all of a sudden you get all these random phone calls. So it's very important out there. You're also talking about advertising too, marketing students and others. So what is your work in advertising then, and what is the message you're going to be sending there?
Actually, you know, as we discussed, you know, with the academicians here, I will try to focus and more introduce the European approach and also like the Czech Republic perspective. So I will be speaking about like the differences, you know, which, for example, communication channels, which social media are used, because the common sense is like, okay, Facebook, Instagram, but there are countries where these are absolutely obsolete or which are absolutely not needed and used at all. So I'm sharing the experience of my Asian students, you know, who are using very different social media and who require very different style of communication in terms of advertising and sales and marketing. So that's the message which I will try to introduce, in particular with the focus of the perspective of the differences and the cultural differences which should be reflected and which are usually not respected at all.
Yeah, in your nation, in Czech Republic, what is the most common way for folks to advertise? I mean, is it through different social media platforms? I know even on streaming services that used to be commercial free, now there are commercials.
Yeah, sure. So currently, you know, it's definitely Facebook for older generation, let's put it in this way, and it's Instagram, you know, for youngsters. So literally these two are still prevalent, and nowadays, you know, even like more like a WhatsApp communication, Messenger, you know, and these platforms are very relevant, but of course these are like less used in advertising because it's harder for the companies to reach out the customers like in these ways.
Yeah, you often see on Facebook what seem to be phishing scams. Do we have advertisers using misleading ads? Do you feel that that's an issue that needs to be discussed?
Absolutely, because I'm also teaching the University of Third Age, which means just like I'm having the courses for the seniors. And if you speak with them, and also like my personal experience with my grandparents, you know, my grandmother, she's 90, and she's all the time like trusting these fake advertising, like shopping something like what would be miracle pillow, you know, miracle pills, you know, for all the joint trouble and stuff like that. So definitely this should be discussed a lot as well. And the misleading information and advertising is still, let's say, a very relevant topic in that context.
Yeah. Do you believe AI will impact advertising?
Definitely, it is impacting it already, because also some of the influencers, you know, are used like, you know, literally to be promoting something, even though they are not trusting the brand and even though they are not cooperating with them. So this is definitely very relevant, especially in that regard.
Yeah. Well, so your university partnership with MSSU has led to numerous visits back and forth by faculty from both schools. What do you see as the biggest benefit of a partnership like this, with faculty going back and forth? Vladimir?
To see the different culture, maybe the different attitudes to the same problems, and also to travel and see the culture, different culture, taste the good food and so on. So this is also why we are here, just to see how the same thing teach or is being teach on the other part of ocean.
Yeah, and what I really enjoyed was the co-teaching with them, and actually we did the course about export marketing a few years ago, and it was great because we were having like 10 students from the Czech Republic, 10 students from here, and we were like co-teaching, just like so. My students were in my class physically, Dom students were in his class, and then there was also like exchange week where the students had the opportunity to see how it goes abroad and so on and so far. And moreover, they cooperated like in group projects, 2 American students and 2 Czech students, and this was very beneficial for them. So sharing the experience, sharing the knowledge, and also like enjoying like this partnership is very fruitful.
I mean, we always talk about a global economy, so it is nice to know how things maybe land in another nation.
Absolutely.
What kind of feedback do you get from the students? I mean, when you've talked to both American students and then your students who may have learned from an American professor?
I mean, it was exactly like that. They learned like that the things are not like they expect everywhere, so that's the first thing. And the feedback from your students was also like very great, because they quite like the cultural as well as like they like the particular different approaches. And even from today, I was very happy that about the it was actually after the first class which I had, there was one student started to be interested in coming to us and studying, the master degree. So I was very happy for that.
Yeah. Do you feel like the classrooms are different in interaction? I mean, are students here different in how they approach you or communicate? Is the atmosphere different in the classroom, would you say?
I would say that the biggest difference is that in here you have to pay for the education. In some schools, universities, you can pay, but the state universities are for free, so you are receiving the education for free. So, and we were discussing it during the last seminar that the students in here can feel more like customers and require some level of the service from the teachers. And when there's something for free, sometimes you don't know, why are you doing this, why are you studying?
Might take it for granted.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Trace?
Yeah, definitely. It's like very similar, and also like what is quite different for me is the fact that I tend to speak sometimes a little bit like quickly, even in English. I'm just like known for that. So in the Czech Republic, I have to control myself in that regard. But here, I was sure that students are getting me at the first glance, because I can speak like at my normal pace. So that was like more or less like a funny thing. But it's like also quite nice, that I don't have to check this.
Yeah, we are. Many people here speak quickly, so you fit right in. What do you hope to take away from this experience of being here?
I haven't taught yet, so my lectures are ahead.
Yes.
So I hope that I will meet new professors, new researchers, and hopefully we will discuss the possible cooperation about the research project, because this is something what we are doing in every university. We are trying to just create a long-term cooperation, or even support it, because this is really well-functioning cooperation.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the same. And similarly, I'm meeting here the people whom I met like a few years ago during the semester abroad when MSSU was organizing it with the Czech Republic. So it is a pleasure like to get back to see the people whom I haven't seen a while, and also like the extension of the cooperation with one of the academicians. With them, we are thinking about repeating the co-teaching course, and similarly, there might be 2 academicians coming to the Czech Republic to visit our university. So let's discuss these opportunities. And similarly, our students are interested in coming, to see you, and the other way around. So this semester, I'm having Tabita, who is actually right with us. It was very nice, and also we are more than welcoming new students. So I'm looking forward to discuss, especially with Rebecca, like the potential opportunities and maybe also the challenges of students' exchanges. So we will try to make it smoother and try to get it as best as possible, for the students in particular.
Well, it's a wonderful partnership. Thank you for all the information. Thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot.
We're going to take a break, and when we return, we will visit with MSSU faculty returning from the Czech Republic. As we go to break, we hear from 2 other professors with the Faculty of Informatics and Management at Hradec Králové about their visit to Missouri Southern with a focus on artificial intelligence and linguistics. Talk to us about your applied linguistics, and you're looking for solutions to language-related issues. Tell us about that, your field that you study.
Yeah. Okay. So at our, let's take example of our college where I am based. So I teach English as an applied language. That means that I teach future computer experts or economists or managers in tourism, all these people. And yes, so you try always to increase their proficiency and particularly communication skills, right? Because this is the most important, to make people, discuss things among themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you both work in informatics. Dominic, explain to us what is informatics and then your involvement with AI.
Okay, that's actually a good question. I just wasn't thinking about that. Informatics is like a scientific field about information, so because you can see the root of the word is like information. So I think this is like the basics of the whole like study field, and usually our students like don't realize that it comes from that word information. So we are focused on how to store information, how to process information, how to share information.
So let's talk about AI. It's controversial. A lot of people fear it. There was a reporter who came to campus and talked to us saying she had put information in AI and it created a quote that wasn't really a quote. So how does the work you do help to maybe make AI better? Is it going to help us communicate better or worse?
Okay, so the question about the AI and about if we should fear it or if we should like laugh it, it's always like very hard, because there are very lack of information about how the AI actually works, because it's like more in as the black box where you just teach some machine if it got any like input data and they just export something and you just don't really know how it works inside. And also you should always like have in mind that it's like only based on some statistical data, so it's only like working on numbers and on some let's say approximations, and everything is like only generated and only simulated. We can like argue about if our brain is also not just any simulation, but the real thing is that we should always like think about it as a tool and not as a person. That's I think the most important thing, and then you don't have to like fear of it.
Okay. Well, because I mean, some of the sessions you've been doing talking about the impact of AI. So, what would you say is one of the greatest impacts of AI on our society?
Well, on our society, there is no good impact at all, I would say, because you are like, even children use it at the elementary schools, and it's not really like important if we ban it or not, because they are still going to use it. And the problem is that their critical thinking is not going to like develop, and that's the biggest issue.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. We have talked with members of the faculty from the University of Hradec Králové about the exchange partnership with MSSU, but our own faculty also had the chance to visit and teach in the Czech Republic. Three of those faculty are our guests today: sociology professors Dr. David Locker and Dr. Ree Wells-Lewis, and Associate Professor of Art and Design Kyle McKenzie. Welcome to Newsmakers. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So you all had a recent trip to Czech Republic. Let's start with your impressions of the country itself. David?
It's beautiful. It's a little interesting to be someplace where everything is hundreds of years old, sometimes many hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, literally cobblestone streets and buildings with walls 3 feet thick. So it's a gorgeous country and very, at least the areas we were in, very open and friendly people as well.
Yeah. Ree, the other faculty from the Czech Republic talked about it being very nature heavy and a lot of people hike. What did you take away from?
Well, we were also located near a beautiful river and bridges and forest and walking paths. So yes, everyone was on the move, and so it felt like we were part of that healthy environment.
Yeah.
And yet, one of the things that I wanted to say about what impressed me so much, in addition about the country, was just about the faculty and the students and the facilities at the university there, how comfortable everyone made us feel, and how really they have very sophisticated facilities, although it was housed in a beautiful, multi-story building that was hundreds of years old.
Very classic, very old architecture, they've told us. So Kyle, the other faculty from the Czech Republic, told us about how it's rich in culture, a lot of history. So how is that from an art perspective for you?
Oh, it was great. I love being in Europe anyway, just anywhere in Europe, just because everything is so much older than it is here. I think they were pointing out that there were still decorations up from the 800th anniversary of the town. Which blows my mind. And one other thing that I think the Europeans in general, but in particular I noticed in Czechia, the art is just such a daily part of life. Like the stores are named after like the beloved architects and things like that. It's not a separate like special occasion to go to an art museum. It's just kind of integrated into daily life, which is great to see, because that's quite a lot different than.
You bet, you bet. Well, you two both teach sociology. So what was the focus of some of your talks to the students? And I mean, was it sociology rich, or was it about, hey, come to Missouri Southern?
No, I kind of gave them like Dr. Locker's greatest hits, because we were to choose 7 topics to teach an actual course on, and so I did cults, I did fads, is always a popular one. I did, geez, now I'm drawing a blank, but I did 6 topics from courses that I usually teach on a regular basis, and just condensed them down so that I could hit everything I thought was important in 1 hour and a half to 2 hour lecture, which is what most of them were. And then, I don't know about Kyle, but Rhea and I also did a presentation to a class on why they as students should consider coming to Missouri Southern.
Yeah. So Rhea, talk to us about what you, what the topics of your discussions were with students.
Of course, very similar to Dave, except for my specialty areas. So one of my favorite lectures was about demographic changes in the United States, including the pattern of our aging population and immigration, changes to immigration, and some of the consequences of those changes. I also teach a couple of courses targeting specific social institutions like religion and healthcare and the family. So I taught a course on each of those social institutions. And in the religion one, it was very interesting just to try to note some different patterns, because in the United States, we're a very religious society, and we mark very high on indicators of religiosity and a religious affiliation and participation, and they do not tend to.
Oh, okay.
So that was a nice contrast.
Yeah.
And then, like for the U.S. System of healthcare, I talked a bit about the cost and the consequences of such very amazing healthcare, but very expensive.
Right.
And how we all kind of chuckled about Czechia spending a lot less in absolute dollars or crowns there, but we were very similar in outcomes of life expectancy and infant mortality rates. So we spend a lot more money and don't get quite as much for our money. They have socialized medicine and, for
much
better, for
different
worse.
scale between those our two nations, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Dave, what kind of reaction do you feel like you guys got from the students? Like when you interact with these students?
I thought they were very receptive. They were, I think a little bit was just literally curiosity to see the American professors. But at least for me, within a few minutes, they were very clearly engaged in the subject and the topic. And they're a little shy about asking questions and answering questions, but once I was able to draw them out and convince them that I really did want to know what they thought about something or an answer, it really, really well.
Yeah,
really
Kyle,
good.
talk to us about what you used and what you were talking about in your discussions.
We talked about, mostly the focus was on community murals. Unlike, it sounds like what they did, I actually gave the same talk
Over and over.
6 times to,
Oh,
to
interesting.
different groups.
To different groups, okay.
Which isn't, I didn't know that when I
Yeah.
got there. But
Yeah.
so I gave the same talk, and it was sort of a mix of kind of a history of the sort of American tradition of community mural making. And then we'd do really short workshops where they would kind of, most of them were going to be art education majors or something affiliated if not. And so we kind of approached it as in your classroom, like how you might lead things. So
Sure.
they're very, I noticed compared to a lot of American students, they were much sort of more ready to collaborate immediately. They immediately started drawing on each other's drawings and kind of, which was, you know, I thought I'd have to break that wall down a little bit, but they were actually pretty receptive to it.
What do you see as the biggest benefit of having faculty go back and forth?
I think there's, to me, I mean, I travel as often as possible, and I think that anytime I go anywhere, I come back with a kind of expanded view. But I think it's also just getting to know other departments, getting to know other sort of students, and just, you know, there's obviously more similarities than differences anytime you go anywhere, but it does kind of, I think, help you understand how other communities are built, and how, I think, just broader perspective in general. Yeah.
What from your experience would you want to share with our students to say, hey, we went over there, this is what it's like, to maybe even encourage them to go study abroad?
Well, definitely. I already had the conversation today I had 2 classes, and I explained both of them some of the differences, just in broad strokes, differences between higher education there versus higher education here. But yeah, very strongly encouraging students basically to go practically anywhere, but especially for this particular program in Czechia. It's just a really lovely opportunity.
Yeah. Ree, what do you think? I mean, what do you see are the big benefits of this exchange program for faculty and students?
There are benefits for both faculty and students, and probably administrators as well, because we, once we make those connections with each other, some of them will stick and stay, and we'll have, like, for example, when I was talking with other sociology professors there, I said, send me your students. I promise I will take care of them. You know, I'll show them around Joplin. We'll feed them some good food and bring them down, you know, for hikes near the creek or whatever. So one of the things that struck me is a sense of friendship with a handful of the faculty, and how quickly that came. And one of my favorite moments was actually at a local pub, and there was the sociology students club was meeting, and there was going to be a change of leadership, and a handful of faculty, and Dave and I were there, and it was just one of the best events for me of the trip, because we got to listen to and share with students as well as faculty, and it was very enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
moment.
sharing about your experiences over in the Czech Republic. We appreciate you all being here.
Thank you very much.
That wraps up this edition of Newsmakers. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching.